Hello and welcome to week 8. It's getting again toward the end of the course, so I wanted to kind of recap where we're at. I want to thank everyone for picking up a new tool. Those of you who are using Figma, I really appreciate that. I liked everything I saw this week and thought we had some great back and forth about different aspects of your wireframes. I realize this is not a design class, so no worries. I think it's really just about being clear about how users are going to navigate and understand your content. So there's still probably a little bit more work to really figure out how navigation is going to work and maybe how some of the categorization that will work. So the story so far is that we have some data, and we looked at it and tried to figure out what it is, and we tried to mark it in terms of its importance. So I still want to remember that idea of headings and groupings. So that was really the whole thought process behind HTML markup, which is what's important, H1, H2, H3, headers, things like that, and how are things grouped together. So once we got to this week, and of course when we tried to figure out, is there some things that we can use to make it easier to see what you might have seen this week as you begin to draw, is that you don't have a lot of room. And you have to really, especially if you are working in a context of a mobile screen, you have to give a lot of context up front. And so I want to make sure that you all know that the mobile screens are actually fairly difficult to design for, just because you need to do a lot of tips and tricks so that people understand that context. So don't worry necessarily about the fit and finish or look and feel of these wireframes. It's really about telling a story. And as a information architect, that's really what you're trying to do. So we're going to finish up by having one deliverable due this Sunday. It could be a link to a series of images. A PDF would be fine. Really, the only image is the sitemap, trying to show me how are things organized, and then a flow, what we're going to call a storyboard. So this week it's about storyboarding and flow. As usual, there's a little bit of an article, kind of gives you some idea about why it's interesting. There's also a quick little exercise, hopefully it doesn't take too long, to go through a service that I think is really cool called IFTTT. If you've already used IFTTT, you won't be able to sign up again, but you could talk about how you're using it. If you've never heard of it, it's a really interesting concept, and I think it's important to this class because it also teaches you a little bit more about how things are connected on the web. It's a connecting service that connects two things together, and they do a great job of making that, I think, easy to understand. So going through it is just about you learning how another company or another information architect helped onboard someone. So this onboarding idea, how do you know how things are and how they work? It's just to get some empathy that it's hard to teach people how to use your data. But then when you get to it, there's also so that flow diagram here, little article, a nice way of kind of thinking about, they see something and they do something. So when you're taking your data and you're trying to make some sort of a flow, think of how you show something and then they do something, and you can just sketch that out on a piece of paper, post it here. We can take a look at that flows together. Again, hopefully the idea that we produce something early in the week, put it out there, get a little bit of feedback from me and others. Don't be afraid to remove an image. I think that this happened this week, that once you've posted an image and people comment, let me just kind of show you how this works. Once somebody comments on something, you can go ahead and just take the comment. Let's see if we can find one. Here we go. If you want to, you can just take the comment and move it out of the way, select the image, delete it, and put the comment back. So I know it's a little bit complicated, but don't feel like the need that you have to keep old images here. We're trying to just, as best we can, be iterative and change things when we get feedback. So anyway, back to this week. We're going to sort of diagram out a flow of how somebody will go through our work, and then we're going to take our wireframes and we're going to actually create a storyboard. And storyboard is just a sequence of pictures that take this idea of what someone does and take it into one more or more steps to get to an endpoint. So it's just a sequence, and if we look this week, many of you have already started sequences. If you have more than one, then you have a sequence. Just make sure that the sequence makes it clear that someone has selected something. And mechanically, that's why we're using a drawing program, because there's going to be a lot of repetition, a lot of copy and pasting, a lot of moving things a little bit, or showing a menu that's open or closed. So that's why, if you've already created those things or begun to, the storyboard should make a lot of sense. But the fidelity right now should be pretty good. If we do have issues understanding like how something happened, post your ideas early. We'll be glad to give feedback. So that being said, make sure to take a look at the rubric for the deliverable this week. And just so you know, this is the last time you're going to be doing something of this manner. We kind of went through all this to get something out there we call information. Information to me is some data records like you've got and a context. So you're helping build a context so that this could be useful. The next steps are going to be knowledge and then wisdom, which we're going to cover in a more theoretical sense. So you'll find out, how does something kind of become knowledge. We're going to discover that next week, and we're going to look at and analyze, have you guys take a look at a service that I think it has achieved these things, at least of knowledge. I don't know if we'll ever get to wisdom, but we certainly are getting to knowledge. And you'll be using this same experience that you did. It's going to start with records, most likely records that are entered by people, freely given information, and it's been organized in a way that makes it incredibly valuable. And so that's hopefully everything you've done will give you a lot of ability to see how and why they made certain decisions. So this is why you're kind of doing the work now of trying to figure out how to organize things, and then later you'll be able to kind of see how others have done it. So that's the arc of the course to the end. I'm happy to do a Blue Jeans session this week. However, as I said before, everything is kind of specific to the work you're doing, and so I don't know if there's any general questions I could answer. But please, if anyone would like a Blue Jeans session, just send me an email, and I'll be happy to set that up. Or as we're doing now, just post what you've got, and we can do all this through Mural, or we can do anything verbally if you like. Just can give me a call. I'm happy to talk to you individually too. So good luck this week.